What would you do with that washing machine?
Burn it. We're going to use AI to strip it all back.
You've done magic. It's immediately so much more comfortable. At Design Clinic, we've lined up 3 cruddy kitchens to improve before your very eyes. And I'm joined today by Interior Designer Christian Bense.
Okay. Every house comes with a kitchen, probably are the hardest rooms to design. Easy when you start from scratch and you can do whatever you want, but we are going to work with what we've got and tweak to make them better.
Shall we take a look at our problem kitchens?
Let's do it.
I bought this house a year ago, renovated the rest of the house, but never really knew what to do with this kitchen. It has these 2 big windows, but for some reason still just feels so dark and so cramped.
Oh,
Ooh.
it's awful. What would you do with that washing machine?
Burn it.
What shape would you call this?
It's a bit of a zigzag with a added appendage, if you will. As a design studio, one of the things that we do first is to look objectively and go, is a problem perhaps something that is maybe too big to chew, or are there little ways that you can improve the space? When it comes to trying to create more light in a kitchen, let's be honest, knocking down a wall, adding another window would probably be the one way to change that. I think there are a few tweaks and material changes which can just improve on the natural light that's coming into this
I'm glad
room,
you said that.
rather than sort of taking a hammer to it and knocking the whole thing down. You've got appliances that are exposed. You've also got a fridge on the one side, which
Huge,
feels
the
like it's,
fridge.
it's on the utility side when actually the other side of the room is the cooking side. You've got a boiler that's exposed. You're not drawing attention to the windows themselves, and it just feels a little bit muddled. I would say you want to try and just rezone this kitchen. So we're going to be problem solving using AI. So what we've done is we've just put all things relating to utility on that side of the kitchen. So immediately there seems to be some sort of like rationale as to how this kitchen is laid out. Moving the boiler away from the hob frees up sort of some of the space around the window. So any natural light coming in there
Is
just
it
means
easy
that.
to move a boiler? With AI,
I'm not going to say
it's
with
absolutely simple,
AI,
isn't
it's definitely an easy thing to do. But I would say in a kitchen like this, if you're trying to design it right, it's probably the least expensive thing to do than like knocking in a skylight or making any major structural alterations. For the sake of making this kitchen work, I think that's a key consideration. The next thing I'd do is start looking at material choices and what the cabinetry looks like. So I'd integrate those appliances so they disappear. And then I'd look at doing a 2-tone kitchen. So it's about allowing the light coming in to either bounce around and sort of get to the sort of back end of the room. And I just don't think that the wooden cabinets are actually helping with that. So you have your base units being a darker color, which then anchors the kitchen to the ground. And then on the upper level, you then have lighter units, which then blend into the wall. So as you walk into the space, you're not sort of like bombarded with anything at your eye level. Those elements sort of just recede back.
It's very clever.
And then just done a really simple LED light along that. So you're not obstructing any of the light coming through into that window.
Are you going to do anything with the ceiling acne here?
For the sake of this argument, we'll leave it. I do think that centralized ceiling lights would add a little bit of like jewelry onto the ceiling, so it doesn't just feel, as you say, ceiling acne.
Let's go back.
You're not drawing attention to the windows and those being the focal points in the room. So here we have it. We've then just pulled things back.
Yes.
So whilst we haven't necessarily made any huge structural changes apart from moving that boiler, by eliminating some of that clutter just means that you sort of have a clear focal point and you know which side of the room is for what. And I think that goes a long way actually in making a room feel brighter and more inviting.
Brilliant, yes, love it. This homeowner has written in complaining about her low ceiling in the kitchen and wondering how she makes the room look more spacious. Oh,
Ceiling height's a bit low, but
it is a bit, and there's not a centimetre of surface uncluttered.
yeah, in this kitchen, I'd say there are just too many things happening in one go. I think with any small kitchen, it is a case of less is more, and finding a few key focal points that you can center the kitchen around. Ceiling height aside, yes, they are quite low. First thing that captures my eye when I look at this kitchen, got a sink that's not centered to the window, so you're sort of walking in feeling perhaps a little bit lopsided. Second to that, you then have sort of floating shelves, 3 on the one side, 2 on the other. They don't quite feel all that balanced. And then you've got exposed appliances.
Ugly.
Yeah, as well as then 2 different sets of splashback tiles.
How are you going to help her?
First thing is strip it all back, starting with a clean slate.
It's immediately so much more comfortable.
We've now centered the sink onto the window. So immediately walking in, you then know exactly that's where you're focused. It gives you some extra storage and surface area on both the left and the right.
I see you've used green, and green kitchens are incredibly popular at the moment.
I think green for a kitchen is a foolproof colour. You know, she's commented on the low ceilings and perhaps things feeling a little dark and encroached. We've kept a dark floor, but just by adding a soft green colour on the cabinetry, just immediately sort of lifts that.
And you can see it picks up the greenery outdoors and maybe makes it feel a little more spacious by doing that.
Yeah, definitely. So now that we've got the sort of symmetrical window elevation, I would say this is where you start adding back in your floating shelves, but you do them in an orderly fashion. And then on the other side, you can do a little spice cupboard or a spice rack as well. You're creating harmony with balance.
Oh, yeah.
Voila.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice counterpoint, but
yeah.
no scrum.
Exactly. They're not fighting each other, even though they are two different elements, but you're still sort of treating each side of the window elevation equally. In a kitchen like this, I would say tile from counter to ceiling. The full back wall, as well as then that side here, drawing your eye vertically. Given that we're sort of going for that sort of country kitchen charm, let's do like a small sort of 10 by 10 square tile. But I wouldn't worry with pattern. I wouldn't do anything sort of like over the top.
Lovely.
And then from there, again, just sort of layering. You know, perhaps we can add in a runner just to soften it if she's not a big fan of the black tile. To remind ourselves where we started.
Oof. So this was uncomfortable.
You can't really rest your eye anywhere.
Then you've done magic.
Ta-da. What do you think?
You've not moved the ceiling at
No,
all.
there were key elements in here that were just throwing your eye off and sort of making the room feel a bit uncomfortable. Strip those back and actually the room becomes spacious and it feels a lot bigger and brighter. When you walk in, you know exactly what you're aiming for in this kitchen.
Lovely. This person's written in with another kitchen problem. She has a sloping ceiling, which makes it slightly awkward space, and she wants to know how can she improve it.
Yeah, it's not too bad that actually.
It's quirky, that's all, isn't it?
It just needs a bit of rezoning. Not only do you have to look at the practical considerations of how to make a kitchen work, there are the aesthetic ones. I always think for me, the best kitchen is one that has a slight sort of traditional flavour to it, and it should feel layered and as warm and inviting as any other room in the house. The kitchen is laid out in such a way that you've got your stove on the one side, your fridge all the way on the other, and then you've got your washing machine and your dishwasher in between, and it sort of feels a little bit disjointed. Judging by the height of the fridge, that height level on that sloped section isn't actually all that bad.
Terrible, no.
I just think what you need is to reorganize this kitchen a little bit better.
It's got what they call good bones,
Good
hasn't it? I
bones.
can't wait to see how great it is at the end.
Jumping straight in. So surprise, surprise, we've gone with the green kitchen again. This time a slightly more sagey colour.
If in doubt,
Go green.
go green.
On the right-hand side, opted to do a freestanding unit, which then you can hide the boiler in. If the boiler is occupying that sort of high-level section here, this little cupboard there is where the washing machine can go. So you're doing a sort of 2-for-1 number. I would probably say let's move the range underneath the skylight. Because this kitchen doesn't have an extractor anyway, you can just crack open that window. So you've got loads of work surface here, and then you've got a real sort of focal point with the butler's sink centered to the window.
Is the pendant light your work?
I think in a kitchen like this, because you've got the sloped ceiling, I would rely on a pendant light rather than down lights. I think sometimes sort of down lights on a sloped ceiling get a bit glary in your eyes. Having something hanging from the ceiling in this instance might just help sort of mask some of those level changes on the ceiling. You can see putting the stove underneath the window now dedicates that side of the room to cooking. Move the fridge to the other side of the room, so this sort of clears up some space here. And then last thing is adding in a few wall lights.
I've gone back to the first picture. I feel like the question is often, can you make this make sense?
Yeah.
And looking at it, I feel like it really does work really well.
So we've taken out the butcher's block because I think we've catered for a lot of the storage or the work surface areas in this new design. We've added back in the glass fronted display cabinet, which then makes the rooms feel a little bit more sort of layered.
She started off with a kitchen that many people would call charming anyway, to be honest, didn't she? But this has kind of cleaned it up and made it feel contemporary and charming.
Very often it's just a better use of space, and it's finding that way of just being a bit more visually organized, pare it all back, zone it all correctly, hide appliances behind doors, so that then you have this like neutral base that you can add in all the clutter of life on top.
Amazing. So thanks so much, Christian, for helping us with our nightmare kitchens today.
Absolute pleasure.
And if you have any design dilemmas you want our help with, please email on the email address in the description box below. And do not forget to subscribe to the Times Life and Style YouTube.
Boom.